transmission commencing. Stand by.
If after doing all the recommended steps from the previous videos, you still have speed issues with your computer, you may have a hardware problem. So there is two things that you have to consider. Either you need a better hardware for the software that you're using, or there is a problem or a physical problem or a hardware failure in one of your components. So to determine if your hardware is up to speed with the current software that you're using, we're going to use the task manager and the performance monitor. So you do that by just clicking on the start, then you type task manager, or you could also press Ctrl Alt Delete to bring that up, and then you click where it says performance on the performance tab. Now there are different components in a computer. There is the CPU, which is the main brain. There is also the memory, the RAM memory, and then there is also the permanent memory in the form of hard drives. And then there is also the Ethernet speed, or the connection if you have a connection to a network. Now all these things are monitored through this performance application in the task manager. So when you are running something that is causing you problems or is slowing your computer down, it makes good sense to open this task manager performance tab and check how is the utilization levels on each of these components. So if I click on the CPU, you see that right now it is about 10%. If it's fluctuating the usage of the CPU between 8 and 10%. So if this is close to 100, your computer may be choking and it will significantly slow down, and it may even stop working for periods of time. That means that either the software that you're using is too much for the hardware that you have, for the speed of your CPU. Now, the same thing happens with the memory, the RAM memory. If you see that right now I'm only using about 2.8, 3 gigabytes of the 16 that I have installed. Now, if this is higher whenever you experience this slowdown, and it's close to the maximum amount of RAM that you have, it may mean that you need more RAM installed in your computer, more memory. The same happens with the hard drives. If you see that during a period of usage of your computer where you notice it's slowing down, you see that the disk utilization is very high, that may mean that you may consider getting a faster hard drive. So this is just a relative way to check, but especially useful for the CPU and the memory. And many times, we are using maybe newer applications and with older hardware that cannot really cope with that new software. So using the Task Manager Performance tab will help you determine that. Now, if this is not the problem, and you're suspecting that maybe one of the components is broken, which is possibly the worst possible scenario, then you will have to do a series of different tests. One of the things that an average power user can do is to check the temperature of your system. Most modern motherboards or computers have applications that monitor the temperature of the CPU and the other components. So you can use those applications and check to see if the temperature is too high. If the temperature is too high, maybe you have a failure in one of the fans of the computer, or in the CPU fan, in the power supply, etc., etc., etc. So there is it's a whole different ball game to diagnose hardware that is broken or it has failures, and it's much more complicated to do. I may be doing new videos or a new series of videos to help you diagnose these problems. But for now, if you're not really into the hardware diagnostic and into going more deeply in these problems, I do recommend that you take the computer to a repair center and for them to check. Also, when you do that, make sure that you tell them that you did all these different checks, so that will save them time, and also it will save you time to receive your computer as soon as possible. Well, I hope you enjoyed this series of videos, and if you do, please subscribe, and thank you for your support.